you click the blue button? Are we on? I believe we're on now.
Yep.
Well, there's one way to find out. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sumner County Coaches Show live here on WHIN streaming internet via Facebook Live and via YouTube. If you want to find us, obviously Facebook Live, you can do it there, or you can go to YouTube and type in WHIN. It will pop up the same way, the same channel where we broadcast the Gallatin Mount Juliet football game Friday night, which worked beautifully in all shapes, forms, and fashions throughout the night, both on the field and off the field. So happy to have that here tonight. Happy to have all of you with us. Happy to have those people in the audience here tonight as we get set for another week, week 5, Zach, of the high school football season here in Sumner County. It is literally flying by, as most seasons do at this point, but we are at the halfway point of the season as far as games played. There will be a bye week coming up for most of the Sumner County teams that have not had them as of yet, so still 6 weeks of football space, if you will. 5 games remaining after this week.
Absolutely. Hold on, keep it going, Greg. I want to make sure that we're
Oh, you
live.
got it. I think, yeah, it's showing up on mine.
We're live now? We're officially live?
Well,
want to make sure.
I think so. Let me turn down my...
As I can't see it.
We're going to get a big feedback here when my speaker comes on, but yeah, we are.
All right.
We are live on Facebook.
Perfect.
We are live, and I can see live on YouTube. So let's get this thing going.
Great, we're under here. So
as I said, this will be week 5 as far as games for most teams in Sumner County. So at the halfway point of games played, obviously with the fall break coming up, there'll be a bye week for most everybody. White House has already had theirs. They had it in week 2. But pretty much everybody else with that bye week coming. So 6 weeks remaining, but only 5 football games to be played after this Friday night.
I'm becoming a broken record when we get on the show because it's crazy to think how far we already are into the football season. It is an absolute downhill sprint, and now going into week 5, like you said, we're going to blink. I'm telling you, we're going to blink, and we're going to be in the middle of basketball season. That's how quickly everything is moving here.
You're going to be in the middle of basketball season.
But still, I mean, it's been a fun season so far. There's been some tragic moments for some teams, and there's been some really highlight moments so far, and it's been really nice. And I mean, Hendersonville, of course, last week falling to the beach and in a way that they didn't want to fall to, but. And then you have on the other side Gallatin winning a baseball score, basically 7-0 in Mount Juliet on the road, which is, I mean, still, Coach Watson, I'm not very happy about the win no matter what.
Hey, you take it if it's 2-0.
Exactly. So, I mean, so much going on, and I'm glad we're all a part of it. And I'm glad everybody else here. And also remember, not only are you able to listen to this live here in Demos, you can be here live at Demos's in Hendersonville. All you got to do is show up. Right now, 6 to 7 is how we go through normally. But if you want to catch the show later, if you're going to be here for a second, then guess what? Go and listen to our podcast page. You can go to WHINradio.com, click podcast, or you go to SoundCloud, click podcasts, or WHIN Radio on SoundCloud, or hey, we're also now officially on Apple Music, so all this is on your Apple Podcast as well. So if you have an iPhone, all you got to do is subscribe to WHIN Radio.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We're nationwide. What was that old saying?
I don't know. You know all the old sayings.
Anyway. Football games this week. There's a full slate of games in Sumner County. Station camps on the road at Rossview. Springfield comes to White House. That's a big ball game. Springfield having defeated Station Camp just a week ago. Hendersonville on the road at Lebanon. It's homecoming at Gallatin. Hillwood comes in for that. Beach at Hunters Lane. That should be a win for the Buccaneers over a Hillwood or a Hunters Lane squad. Excuse me. That's been struggling, although they've won a game or 2 this year. Trousdale County at Westmoreland. That's a tough one for the Westmoreland gang. Pope John on the road to Memphis to face Christian Brothers, and Portland goes to West Creek for a matchup for the Panthers. So those are all of your games for Sumner County this week. Zach, you mentioned obviously Hendersonville, which you covered last week, and we hear the stories of how that game kind of unfolded in the 4th quarter with Hendersonville leading a game that they felt like they probably should have won. And I'm sure if Coach Beasley comes in tonight, he'll tell us that. But kind of take us through quickly that 4th quarter and how things unraveled in that for Hendersonville.
There's no doubt that the better team lost that night. Joe Townsend, my color man, had said that exact quote, and he was right. It was just simply a way that to eloquently say it all. It was Hendersonville had a chance, and not even a chance. They were in command the entire game. The entire game, they were the stronger team. They were playing stronger. Their defense was completely holding all through, and not even, can't even say 3 quarters. It was 3 and a third quarter. It was the last 5 minutes is what Hendersonville lost it in, off a couple errant punt snaps that got muffed, not blocked, no real pressure got put in. It was just the punter dropped it. And that's as simply as a term as you can have it. And it was both inside of Hendersonville's 20 when it happened, which is great fielding position when you have less clock and need to score a touchdown.
You don't have to go far, yeah.
And to Beach's credit, they capitalized. They capitalized on the errors that happened through Hendersonville, and then they got the win for it in the end. And Xavier Jones and Jay Sean Parks, that quarterback or running back tandem, for the whole game, Hendersonville had them completely shut down. They were not moving, a lot of 3 and outs happening. And Hendersonville was able to move the ball well on the ground, even over the air. Saw a lot of different looks from Hendersonville, which was better to see, is in the sense of it wasn't just the wing tee coming out. It was a lot of out of the gun and movements, but it put multiple movements. Yeah, but it put Hendersonville in a bit of a hiccup in that when they had the final drive, they weren't, they're not used to being in that final drive scenario. And you could tell that just that situation had been unprecedented to them this whole season, and it is a young team, it is a young group. So it just was unfortunate that Hendersonville had that situation happen, but as is football, it doesn't matter any day. You've got it's a game of inches and it's a game of seconds. And in that time, Hendersonville couldn't finish it out the way it needed to be.
For Gallatin last week, 1 touchdown, a 7-0 win on the road at Mount Juliet. Spencer Briggs, 50-yard touchdown run, over 180, I think 4, if memory serves, yards last week for Spencer. He continues to pile up the yardage there. That came in the second quarter before halftime. Gallatin made it stand up after that. Mount Juliet wound up for the night, 5 first downs, 88 total yards in offense. Never got closer than the Gallatin 30-yard line, and the possession that they got to the 30, they started at the 39 off of a shanked punt that put them there, and the Gallatin defense stopped them on 4 downs to keep them from crossing the 30-yard line. So a big win there. We've got Coach Chad Watson here with us tonight, Stephen Clements, one of the 2 co-defensive coordinators for Gallatin. Nothing went bad this week, so Coach Clements can come and talk to us. We'll hear from him a little bit later on tonight, and hopefully some of the other coaches will come in and join us. But let's go ahead and get Coach Watson to come on over and sit down here so you and I can quit babbling and somebody can hear somebody intelligent speak tonight.
I know. This is the whole fact that this show is the coaches show, right?
Exactly.
We need to get one that the Greg and Zach show.
No, we don't.
We need to get that.
I put up with you on Wednesday night. That's enough. That's enough of this.
Oh, man.
Coach Chad Watson with us once again. Coach, I know and I could tell from hearing your voice on the sideline or on the field Friday night after the game that you were pretty excited. Saw some video. You've had a pretty big week. You got the video on the news Friday night. You went down and did a local television show on Sunday. Just kind of making the rounds and back here, and we're fortunate that he would come join us little folks after being a TV star this week.
No, it's been exciting, and yeah, there was some excitement in my voice. That's a big game for confidence for our kids in this program, and you get a program like Mount Juliet, who in their last 30 regular season games have won 28 of them, and we look back, and I think it's been 2014 or 2015 the last time Gallatin beat Mount Juliet. Was also the last time they lost to a team that wasn't a 6A program. So it's the first time they lost to a 5A team in quite a few years. So it was a big win.
And it was a win at Mount Juliet, which is a place that somebody said the number last week, and I don't remember, but they had not lost there in, I think, 27 consecutive home wins at Mount Juliet. So you snapped that streak for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good environment. Honestly, I told different people throughout the week, though, I thought it felt like a home game to us just because our crowd was so impressive and we had so many people, and I felt like our sideline and our group behind us was louder than their group, and it's nice to be a Green Wave and have fans that travel the way that ours do.
Yeah, I could tell from just what we could hear in the press box, it was a little sterile on the Mount Juliet side, if you will. Not a lot of excitement. Even at the beginning, when the team came out, the Gallatin side much louder than what we were hearing. We could hear the Gallatin band over the Mount Juliet crowd, and we're right there in the middle of it.
And
so it was all those things.
Speaking of the band, our band does a great job, and I know they don't get mentioned as much as they should, but we definitely do appreciate everything they do, and it helps. I mean, it gives me a little extra juice on Friday nights, and I'm sure they do for our kids too, so thankful to have them, and it's a big part of what we do.
Now this week, homecoming. Obviously a different week around school. There's events dress-up days, powder puff football, I think, or
Yeah.
something of that nature going on. How do you keep the kids' attention focused on Hillwood when you see Hillwood on film? Not the most impressive team that we'll see, and I'm certainly not being flippant or trying to be negative about the Hillwood squad, but facts are facts when you look at them. And these kids have seen this, plus all these activities. How do you keep them focused in on the task at hand, which is the game coming up?
We tell our kids that you have fun throughout the day, enjoy homecoming week, but when you come to us at 125 or whenever the time is, that it's football. And I don't care about 4-0, 5-0. I care about 2-0, 2-0 in the region. That's our number one priority. We're trying to get better week in and week out and set ourselves up to have a home playoff game, and we got to win this one in order to do that. And honestly, if distractions occur and I feel like our mindset's not where it's supposed to be at practice, we're going to toe the line and we're going to hit some sprints and we're going to get it fixed that way. And we hadn't had to do that yet this week. We got a mature group of kids. We got 28 seniors. I think they got a level of success they're not used to having, and they're enjoying it, and I think they want to keep working and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
You got my next question when you mentioned this week and how things had been. Injury-wise, obviously you had a couple of guys out. William Goodnight didn't play against Mount Juliet. What is his status and anyone else as far as injuries at this point of the week?
William has got an issue with his knee, but it's not severe. I wouldn't consider it severe. He could be back as early as next week. We're going to kind of monitor him and see. He's not going to play Friday night. Same thing with Michael Brinkley. We're waiting on the results on him. He could be back next week as early as that. I think everybody that's out right now, except for D. Sullivan, obviously, should be back within relatively pretty quick. So I think we're pretty healthy overall.
A name that I knew but I didn't expect, Chris Kemp. Stepped into the lineup with Goodnight out, with Brinkley injured last week, and short of grading the film, which I don't do, I thought he had a pretty solid football game overall,
Yeah.
at least what you could see during the course.
That first fourth down stop, he actually got good penetration. He ripped, and he was the first man to point of contact in the backfield, and James came in and cleaned him up. Super proud of that kid, and he's a testament to what we tell our guys. You may not expect to play, but if your name's called, you got to be ready to step up and play. And I thought he did some good things with Rayvon Williams. Same thing, senior, hadn't got to play a whole lot. Comes in and plays a lot of meaningful snaps on Friday night. I'll let Coach Clemens talk about those two guys. That's his position group, so I'm sure he can kind of give you a rundown on them as well.
But that is a good thing.
For sure.
When you have guys stepping up, next man up when somebody goes down, those guys now have gotten some valuable snaps, and will obviously probably get some again this week. You get the two starters back with Brinkley and Goodnight, hopefully in the future for the stretch run. You got guys you're confident in that you can put in for a breather. You don't have to necessarily play those guys as much, especially with Goodnight being an offensive lineman as well.
Right, and that goes back to the way we structure practice. We want to make sure that those twos are getting just as many reps as the ones, and maybe they're not getting as many, but they're getting a lot of quality reps at practice. And I know Coach Broderick and Coach Clemens do a really good job of that on the defensive side of the ball. And me and Coach Silcox try to make sure we're rolling those two offensive linemen in as well, because at any given moment, is the game of football is what it is. Somebody could go down and the next guy's got to go in and play.
You obviously are an offensive line coach, offensive lineman by trade. Chris Murphy stepped in for Goodnight at right tackle in that game. How did he do overall when you graded the film? Because he's a guy that's kind of a jack of all trades, if you will, plays a lot of different places.
It's good to have a guy like Murphy that can play tackle or guard and kind of be the sixth man of the offensive line, so to say. Overall, honestly, offensive line-wise, that may be one of our, and I've told point blank, that was one of our worst performances of the year. I felt like we didn't communicate, we didn't do things the way that we should. It wasn't necessarily that Mountain Juliet was loading the box. It's like we did not communicate, and we did not get enough push onto the second level. So we kind of had a little heart-to-heart on Tuesday when we came back, and we've been getting after it pretty good this week, and I expect much improved play on the offensive line this week. We got high standards for those guys. I mean, if you're going to be a championship level football program, it starts with that unit. So we got to have a high standard for them.
And yet it wasn't their best performance. Briggs still manages, obviously one touchdown. That was down a little bit from what he does a lot of other games, but still 180 yards on the night. That's a pretty impressive number when you sit here and tell me that the offensive line didn't have a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and a lot of his yards were after contact. We did spring him loose that one time for 50 yards. and I know he was getting frustrated, but he ran the ball really, really tough. I mean, 34 carries against a quality opponent like Mountain Juliet, and I'm sure he was sore Saturday morning when he woke up, but he kept running north and south, falling forward, and doing everything we asked him to do. And our H's, kids like Trustin Kemp, get in there and lead block and don't get a whole lot of credit, but do a lot of good things for us. So,
Isaiah Briscoe. The passing numbers aren't going to set the world on fire when you look at it right now and probably at the end of the season, but he has been very efficient with what he's done, and he's taken care of the football.
right, the biggest stat you look at for a quarterback and what we do offensively and the quality of defense we have, the number one stat I'm going to look at is turnovers, and when we have 0 at the end of the game on Friday night, I like our chances against anybody if we don't turn the ball over. But Isaiah's going to have a breakout game. I know it's coming, but it's eventually going to happen. He throws a really quality football. We got some playmakers in space. It's just the way the game was going Friday night, me and Coach Wilson said that I don't feel like they're going to score on us, so we're going to eat this clock up and chew it out and get out of here with a victory, and that's what we did.
Well, now, Isaiah should have had one completion. We watched the video Friday night when we got back to Jaden Williams down the sideline, was clearly inbound on the game film. To be fair to the officials, they get one look in real time to make the call, and they missed the call, but it didn't have an effect on the overall outcome of the ball game, but it was a beautiful pass and catch that would have shown up in the stats and made it a little bit nicer for Briscoe, and obviously a little more confidence in both those guys when you can make a play like that.
Yeah, for sure, a lot more confidence, and he could swing the momentum of the game, punch one in early. I mean, maybe we locked the scoreboard a little bit more than what we did, but who knows? Just happy we got these kids, and happy we're sitting at 4-0 right now.
Defensively, 2 guys, obviously, and you'll know who I'm going to mention before I mention them, that really stood out on a team of defensive players that stood out. But A.J. Branham and James Mason, 12 tackles for one, 14 tackles for the other, 3 sacks, I think, combined between them, 10 tackles for losses. Just an incredible ball game by those 2 guys individually, but they had some help because the other people around them were doing their jobs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a group, it's a unit, but James Mason blew me away watching the tape. I think he had 15 tackles is when we went back and watched it, and a sack. But the most impressive thing to him that I saw on film was number 3, the Bowen kid who's going to Duke, the receiver. They move him to Wildcat, and they go to run a quarterback stretch, and James Mason runs him down, point blank, nothing else to it, and like
from inside out, and that kid's fast.
Yes, I mean, you got a Division I athlete, and you got Mason playing inside linebacker, weighing 220 pounds, running that kid down. That says something for his athletic ability. I mean, he's known for being physical and hard-nosed, but he's got some wheels too for a big boy. AJ made plays. AJ did a lot of good things for us. Trustin Kemp continues to play really, really good.
Probably
football.
his best game.
Yeah, I mean, kid transitioned from an inside linebacker to a defensive end, never complained. He may be the most coachable kid I've ever coached, does everything right. Malachi McDowell, he's matched up against the Division I receiver. I think he held him for 2 catches for 12 yards. And first play of the game, they throw a slip screen to him out in space, and there's nobody but him and Mal locks him up, makes the tackle. So it was a good team effort. I could talk about all 11 of those guys. I mean,
and they all deserve credit,
yes,
not to leave anybody out, but obviously those numbers, 14, 15, 12 tackles, and what those 2 guys did because they made some of those plays at critical times.
For sure, and I think Mal holding that cat to 2 catches is just as impressive as the tackles.
And Solomon Yarbrough, again, I don't know that he's had a missed tackle. Obviously, you may know that better than I, but I don't remember a missed tackle. When he's got his hands on somebody this year, they go to the ground.
Yeah, for sure, and he does a good job. And Solo's such a good kid, coachable kid. I think he's going to make somebody a good player on Saturdays, whoever gives him a shot to play that nickel position. Morgan Smith stepped up. He's done a really, really good job at inside linebacker as well next to Mason.
This week, Hillwood, we talked about the homecoming part, but now take us kind of through an overview of what you've seen from them on film and kind of what you expect from them come Friday night.
They got the same offensive coordinator that they had last year, Corey Burton. I know Coach Page and his son's graduated. Coach Page moved on to another job. They're more of an air raid type offense. They're going to throw the ball quite a bit, try to get the ball out quick. Mostly everything we've seen defensively is a 3-4. They will stem over, kind of look like more like a 4-2 or a 4-3 look. They got athletes on the defensive line. They'll slant and move and try to get upfield, cause havoc with penetration, and their quarterback throws a good ball, and they got receivers capable of making plays. So they're an athletic football team.
Now, we don't expect a huge Hillwood crowd, just to be honest. They
Right.
don't travel quite like Gallatin and or Mount Juliet, Hendersonville Beach, the teams in Sumner County. But there's a lot of things going on, and I have been told that there's a large portion of the 1989 state championship team. In fact, those guys, 20 of them, were together last week listening to the game on the radio, texted me during the ball game,
That's awesome.
and made a comment and said they would be there this week. And I know several of them have been in Facebook posts this week planning on being there. So hopefully the Gallatin crowd will fill up that other side, the visitor side. Obviously the home side I think will be packed,
Right.
and it'll be 5, 6, 7,000 people there for homecoming to watch a good football game.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, and it's always nice that you can honor the tradition and teams of the past, and having that 1989 championship team is going to be awesome for our kids to see them come out and be honored at halftime.
A bunch of old men, but Zach, now you've been working on some technical issues we've had here. Everything good and straight now. We're good to go. And
Gotta love a good fire, you know? Gotta love a good fire. No, yeah, sorry. So we had internet issues. It was dropping in and out. We fixed that. The audio's fixed. Everything's perfect now. So everyone heard for everything but for maybe like 2 minutes at most of the middle of all that.
oh,
so.
lovely. Well, you and I had a good conversation for 2 minutes here.
Yeah, so we had to start a new stream, by the way, Greg. So we're on a different one. You gotta reopen the new one. That's the old one.
Okay.
That's the old one. But as we are back here live now, everything's set and good. So now you can make all those jokes. Y'all doing the inappropriate stuff off air.
No, we would never do anything like that.
I don't
this
know
is a
any.
good family, fun,
Family
clean
friendly.
show. Absolutely.
Well, and so we're here at Demos's right now. Chad Watson, head coach of Gallatin Green Wave. Looking forward, I mean, do you think a lot of this season well, I mean, obviously it is a big help, but playing so many games at home, but then also getting a win on the road like that. Obviously against Mount Juliet, it was a bare knuckle fight. I can only assume I wasn't there, but I mean, what does that say to you as for a coach about this team that they're able to? Yeah, it's easier to win at home. Everyone knows that, but finally go and win one on the road that is a serious game.
Anytime you do something for the first time, you're going to be a little concerned about how your kids handle it. And I said last week we traveled down to Blackman and played a really good team this spring, but a scrimmage is not like a game. I think our motto of grit that we kind of talk about, being able to overcome adversity to reach a long-term goal, and with that, and we talk about it every day, I feel like our kids have really bought into blocking out distractions and focusing on what we can handle. So I kind of give it credit to that, and the coaches making sure our guys are focused in with their position group and what they're supposed to be doing.
I know that you get used to this show and it's nice, and so I want to apologize for having to deal with Joe Dubin over at Channel 4.
Oh, Joe's an awesome guy.
Joe's a nut.
He is a nut, and it was a lot of fun getting to talk to him, and that was a cool opportunity to go down there. And he loves high school football, and he really cares about kids, so he's a good guy.
He was at the Mount Juliet game Friday night.
Yep.
Pre-game, I actually texted him from the press box. He was down on the field, and I won't tell you, he wasn't doing anything bad, but he was down on the field, and I texted him, and he called me back and didn't hear the message that I called him, and I left him a message and texted him, and then we wound up having a conversation, and he was laughing about what I'd said. But yeah, he's a nut. One last thing before I let you get away. You mentioned the Duke commitment in Bowen. Trooper Taylor was there, and I know you spent some time with him. We spent some time with him Friday night pre-game talking about Duke and about football in general, his days in the SEC, and even in the Big 12.
Yeah, he was there, like the Bowen kid, talking to him at Mount Juliet, but actually Briggs ended up catching his eye a little bit. So I think today or tomorrow they're supposed to be sitting down as a staff and watching his film. Trooper really liked the way Spencer ran the ball, liked his toughness and his acceleration. So hopefully they're just another list of schools kind of jumping in on Briggs. Actually got a call from South Carolina's running back coach during practice today. So Briggs is starting to pick up some interest. So it's nice to see college coaches around. I think with anything with the success we're having, and hopefully we sustain success, but one thing I really want to do as a coach is kind of get a pipeline, kids to be able to play at Gallatin High School and go play at the next level, because looking in the past few years, I don't think we've seen enough kids at college, and that's something I want to try to help fix.
Coach, thanks for being with us as always. Go get you a meal and enjoy. Let's get Coach Beasley from Hendersonville on over here and get him in and talk a little Commandos and Zach, I'll
Yeah, it's
kind of step back and let you take more of this one since you did the technical stuff. And plus, you're Henderson Mills play-by-play guy, so obviously.
I had to make sure
Can we
everything
switch
was
the
perfect.
spots here? I don't know if I can sit next to the Gallatin guy.
Hold on,
You
say
wanna-
that on mic.
Yeah,
though.
put the
Say that
headset on. Go ahead, repeat that.
Said I need to switch spots. I don't know if I can sit right next to the Gallatin guy.
Well, I can get up and hey, that's next week. We're good this week. You guys have got a game at Lebanon coming up this week. Next week we'll have to do something different.
Well, so let's talk about Beach last week. Obviously, I said it at the beginning of the show. I don't know if you were able to catch it or not. You might be working. I know you're obviously you're always working. It seems like, but I think, and Joe put it plainly, the better team lost. What is your thoughts on that?
We got beat.
Right. But
I don't know. It's my fault. You know, I didn't have us ready for those situations at the end of the game, pressure situations, and you know, our kids didn't deserve to lose the game, and I didn't have us ready enough. So it's my fault that we ended up not being able to pull it out.
So yeah, and then obviously the big punting situations that really kind of put you in the situation was the two muff handles by the punter. So you tried two different punters. Bringing Carter O'Brien in, was that just simply trying to see if a different set of hands could get in it, or did they say anything how the ball felt different maybe, or what it was that late in that game it was a hot game. I know game time temperature was a brisk 96 degrees out there. I can imagine the field level was a lot hotter, so sweat and condensation with the hands, was that possible part of the problem, or?
Well, the main issue was I just didn't have our team prepared for that. I mean, offensively, we had the ball prior to that on both of those. We could have picked up the first down, ended the game right there. The fumbled snaps didn't go into the end zone. They weren't touchdowns. Our defense got a chance to go out there and win the game by getting a stop right there. So all three phases didn't execute right there at the end of the game. That's on me.
Now let's talk about some of the good stuff that happened, because there was a lot of good for the Commandos. I mean, the entire game really was. Now obviously it matters once the clock ends, but for the entire game the Commandos played strong. And Drew Hohenbrink was a real leader out there. What did you see from last week? He was obviously our MVP this week. What did you see from Hohenbrink from at least the first three quarters as it is, but for the whole game?
Well, he leads our team. He was effective throwing the ball to start the game. I mean, that was nice to see. We had a penalty down there on our first drive that we would have had the ball inside the 20, you know, it's just somewhere around 14-yard line or somewhere with the first down. We had a penalty that took us back. We ended up go for it on fourth down, didn't get any points out of that drive. And that's a drive we needed to get points at against a rival in a game that you know is going to be tight.
Right.
That was important. But that's not his fault. You know, I thought he was playing really effective at that point, throwing the ball right where we wanted to do it, taking what their defense was giving us, and then obviously when he runs the ball, he does a good job of running the ball, and when he's not running the ball, he's carrying out his fakes the way that we want him to. So trying to get one guy to step over with him, and that'll open it up for one of the other guys that does have the ball.
I've nicknamed him now Houdini Hohenbrink because he had Joe and I completely lost. I believe it was on his second touchdown where he actually drug one of the players in the second touch where he scored. But I 100% thought, everyone thought, even the NHFS filmer was following the ball the other way, and Hohenbrink just walks over into the end zone. I mean, his ability to hold that ball close like that is insane. It baffled me. But what did it mean also now you got your senior safety back in Logan Spurrier, and what did it mean for that team as well, just to have him back in that game?
Well, Logan's a great player. You know, he's a great high school player. He does a lot of really good things for us. You know, having him on defense was important, and but you know, number 5, Nevin DeGraff, has stepped in for him and played. He plays great. You know, he tells you know, we put a lot of pressure on that position to make sure that they're the leader of the secondary, so they have to line us up, make sure we're lined up properly, and both of those two guys have done an excellent job. Logan's been out there at practice every day helping Nevin because Logan's got a little more experience from last year and the previous year of playing. He's been out there helping Nevin make sure that we get lined up properly and everything, and just focused at practice. So I knew once he was able to return and get some playing time that there would be no issue with him getting us lined up and being back to the way he was playing last year. And so we were happy to have him back. Obviously, we'd like to get him in a little bit more on offense than we did last week, but he's working back and will be in more and more as the weeks go on.
Well, now let's move it towards this week, going up against Lebanon. What do you know about Lebanon? What are you expecting from them?
I know Lebanon is a big and fast football team that looks like they're good just about in every position. And you know, most importantly, this one is a region game for us. You know, last week wasn't. So we really got to rebound, regroup, refocus on taking care of business on the road at Lebanon.
Now, y'all seen Lebanon, correct?
Yes,
Gallatin has.
first game of the year.
So, what are your tips that maybe some tips and tricks from seeing the game already live with Lebanon play?
Oh, geez.
You didn't think I was going to
Well,
put you on the spot.
it's been, we've had 3 games since then, so, as he said, Lebanon is big, they're fast. Copas, the quarterback, I believe, if he still hasn't been injured and out, number 2, was a good leader for the team, did a lot of good things, threw the ball fairly well. Gallatin was able to handle them defensively, holding them to 7 points in the ball game. I guess the best advice that I can give you is just go in and play hard. And which I don't think that'll be an issue for Hendersonville, because obviously I think he's probably had their attention this week at practice, coming off such a emotional and tough loss. It's kind of hard for kids not to be focused this week, I would think, Coach, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they haven't been, but I would think that there would be no issue with you having their attention, because they want to bounce back now from what was their second loss of the season and have an opportunity to do it. But they've got to be focused and come in and do all the little things that maybe they didn't do last week that will help them get a win in Lebanon.
Right, and then Gallatin's defense has done that to pretty much everybody they played, I believe, right?
Yeah, they've done pretty well. They held.
So it's kind of hard to compare right there with what they can do. But you know, Mount Juliet played Lebanon as well, and it was similar kind of game.
24-7 was the final score that Mount Juliet won.
Which I think was similar to the Lebanon Gallatin score, right?
28-7 was the Gallatin Lebanon.
So you know, the main thing about him is, like you said, their quarterback is Copas, number 2. I think he started safety for him last year, and he's a leader. He does a great job for him, and he's efficient. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. They got 2 backs that are really good at running the football, and they're just so big and fast up front. That's the scary part. You know, Gregory on defense, number 53.
He's a stud.
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
He's an animal, and he's able to get to the sideline and make plays on the sideline after he comes off and knocks offensive linemen around a little bit. So we're gonna have our hands full, and we got to be prepared, and we got to be ready to get their best all night. And we're playing on TV.
Well, that was my next question. I wanted. I mean, obviously the pressure of playing on WHIN is real as it is, but preparing the kids for the bright lights as it is of the cameras and the visual aspect of everything. What has been that focus this week going into this game?
Well, you know, we're fortunate because we've been on TV every year for the past, I don't even know how many years. You know, we've got a game on TV every year. So as coaches, you kind of learn some things that you need to do. The timeouts are longer. You got a little more time to go over some things with your players. You got to calm them down a little bit, because there is an extra time, you know, there is extra long timeout. So sometimes they're ready to go back on the field right away, and you got to get them focused and ready for those things, the extra long timeouts and that kind of stuff. But other than that, you know, once the whistle blows, it's football. You know, you don't really think about it being on TV. So it's fun. It's good experience for our kids. It's good exposure for our program, and we think it's awesome that we're getting the opportunity to do it again.
Exactly. And well, with that being said, though, I mean, is there anything else for Lebanon this week that you're working out differently in the sense of preparing, like you said?
He's going to tell you about the onside kick he's going to run.
Yeah, that's what we're going to try to
Go ahead.
But but getting ready for Lebanon and just that bounce back, like you said, what are you trying to do with that bounce back? Are you using that as motivation with the kids this week that you're reminding them about this, or how are you working that from a coaching side?
Well, it's the same thing every week for us. It's you know, we'll hopefully enjoy victories on Friday night and Saturday, and then Sunday we're on to the next game, and we can't keep looking backwards at things. We got to correct mistakes, but we can't keep harping on things that we've done in the past. We got to change and do things better. You know, we want to correct, we want to continue to do things we did good from the previous week, but we got to move forward and work on getting better for the next opponent.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on with us. If there's anything else that you want to tell the fans or anything like that, they showed up in droves last week. That was for sure. I imagine they're still going to make this travel out to Lebanon as
Are
well.
we doing call-ins tonight, or is this?
No call-ins
call-ins?
now, but they're
When
watching.
does that start?
They're all live right now, so they might leave a question. We might need to start doing that.
Yeah,
When are we starting to have call-ins?
Send
Yeah.
us a question.
We got to get the budget for it though.
Yeah, if we had the
Let
technology
that
for
up.
that, we would do it, but that's a little bit much for a small radio station in Sumner County to
Right.
be able to do what we would need to do to get.
Hey, look, we
call.
just, we just want to continue to get support from our community. We think our kids playing real hard, and we want to continue to get them to play hard. And this is a big game for us, and hopefully we take care of business. If you can't make it out to Lebanon Friday night, watch on TV. It'll be pretty exciting. So
Watch on TV, turn the volume down, listen to the internet.
There you go. That's how it is right there. All right.
That's how we do that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
sorry
Coach.
about
Again,
that.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's get Coach Justin Geisinger from Pope John to come on over here and join us tonight. He's coming off a big win last week. The Bishop's Cup resides for, am I going to be wrong when I say 4 years now that you guys have had that
That's
consecutive?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it.
I knew you had it last year, and I was thinking it was 4, and I just, for some reason, didn't want to mess that up. So 4 consecutive years, obviously, a lot of celebration after the ball game. Probably a lot of celebration throughout the weekend for the kids because, as you talked about last week, these are kids that have gone to school together. They know each other through the diocese and things involved with the church. And to get the win, obviously, a good thing for everybody involved on your side, not so much for them.
Yeah, it's always a fun week. It makes it a little bit different this year that you're out of it's a non-region game, which is kind of unique with the split to the region from this past year with us going west. But much more than a football game. It's great for the diocese of Nashville, great for both schools and the community. Coming together for a really common cause of what both schools represent. I think it's a unique thing in Nashville. That game, and obviously we want it to grow and become a bigger thing as it comes. But being able to win it for the 4th consecutive year obviously means a lot to our team, and I think a lot to our community as well. Being a young Catholic school on this end of town is something that it's been an uphill battle for the football team as far as playing in a very, very difficult league. But the fact that we're gaining some momentum and being able to compete in the region a little bit now has been great, and I credit that to a lot of things. I credit that to our players. We have a great staff. We put together a great staff, and any head coach is going to tell you it's not about them; it's about the guys around them. I've got some really good guys, two alumnus and alumni of school that are back that obviously have put the blood, sweat, and tears into that program in the early days, and they've been there and they understand where it was and now where it is, and they took a lot of pride in that. So, myself being in 10 years now, 5 years as a head coach, but seeing where it was and where we've taken it now, and it's all because of our kids buying into a program and having the school and the administrative back us and the support and everything starting to fall into place is fun.
For those of us that weren't there last week, didn't get to hear the internet call on WHIN with Willie Brown and his team, take us through the game quickly, kind of how things played and how you wound up with the victory for those listening at home tonight.
It was a total team effort. All 3 phases of the game, kind of contributed to the game. Big momentum swing. We had an interception for a touchdown. Brandon Shockley, a corner, had a big play before the half to kind of, I think, take the momentum, and then we were able to kind of hold on to that in the second half. Rory White, our Air Force commit receiver, took a ton of screen. I think it was an 8-yard screen for a touchdown. Kind of secured the momentum in the second half, and we were kind of able to hold on to it from there. But Father Ryan has a lot of tradition. It's a program that's been around for a long time. A lot of tradition, a lot of pride over there to be able to come out on top in that game. Not just this year, but the past 3 years before that as well is certainly a testament to our kids and our school and program and kind of where we're going.
Now, obviously, it was the 4th year in a row that you won the Bishop's Cup, but what was it like to win the Bishop's Cup in not as close of a game?
Yeah. Like I said it last week. I think prior 3 years, it's come down to less than 10 points combined. It was good on my heart. Let's put it that way. It was certainly nice to not take it to the wire for 1 year, but like I said, any Division II large team is going to be a difficult game, and that's a region type of game, even though it's not in the region. When we get that win, it's big for our confidence for our kids, and obviously, like I said, our community as well. But our mission, like I said, to live and compete like Christ for us is it doesn't matter if it's a Bishop's Cup game, doesn't matter if it's a preseason game, doesn't matter if it's a playoff game. Now we have our next game, and our next game is a region game. We have the Memphis Clay Christian Brothers, a very good football team. So that's what our focus is on now, and you know that's what we'll keep it.
Well, now let's talk about that. Being on to next week, the first trip to Memphis for the season. What is that preparation? Because it is a haul.
Sure, yeah, it is. You know, we headed down there actually in the second round of playoffs, played in the US last year. So
I was there.
Yeah,
It was cold and it was long.
It was. So that extra hour, you know, used to going when we traveled to go to Macaulay Baylor when we were East Middle, you know, to go to Chattanooga was a little bit less, and then you gain that hour. You gain that hour coming back. So now it really adds 2 hours to the trip coming back. So it's a long trip, but I think our kids, you know, our veteran kids, we have a veteran skill group, and they've been there, done that before. So I don't anticipate that being any issue for us. We have our routine, and you know, we'll get on the road early on Friday and get down there and get ready to play a good football game.
Now, what are you expecting from Christian Brothers? What have you seen from them?
You know, they're very sound. Obviously, another program with a lot of tradition. They got some really good players. They got some, you know, really good skill kids on offense, and good line of scrimmage that plays very hard. You know, again, you look at them, and it's really hard to pinpoint a weakness. They're pretty stout on the defensive front as well, and got some good guys in the secondary, and they play hard. You know, they've been there before. They've been in big games, and like I said, there is a tradition built there, and it's something we're working to build at Jacob too. We just haven't had the opportunity to be around long enough to be in some of these close games in the region and start building that. And I think we're at that point now where we're challenging our kids. Okay, we've won the Father Ryan game. That's great, but hey, this is an opportunity to take another step in our program and compete against a very good region football team. So we're excited about that.
Where this team, we talk about it, you have some real studs on offense, obviously, but just like we saw with the Bishop's Cup and really throughout the season so far, we've seen different guys step up. Being one, like you said, your Air Force commit,
Sure.
And Roy White. Then you also have Antoine Roberts, who,
Right.
from what I understand, once again had a good game as well in the Bishop's Cup.
Yeah.
Where this program stands right now, the guys that you have, the leaders that you have on this team. I mean, just talk a little bit more about how you're seeing them grow. Once again, you're a football coach, but all football coaches and even players. Joe Townsend, my color guy, he was talking about, you know, he realizes now his coaches were teaching him skills to be a man in life, not just this.
Yeah.
How do you see that growth happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's in our program for sure. And I think you talk to most of these coaches, like I think we talk about this every week, but at this level, if you're in it just for wins and losses and for winning state championships, then we're in a profession. We're in it for growing these young men. We know that the vast majority of these kids for football days will end here in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And you know, some will be fortunate to go on and play further, but the game is going to end at some point. And you know, just the life lessons and the things that parallel, you know, life decisions and things that they're going to have to be put through it's really unparalleled, and we use that as a platform in our program. And, you know, that we do as much off the field culturally. Like I said, we're doing a book study throughout the year as a team on a book called Ego is the Enemy, and we devote as much time, and while that takes away from practice time, we take 30 minutes a week off the field in our small groups, and we break it down, and we're able to do a lot of things maybe so other schools aren't able to get into, being a private school. And it's exciting that to see some of our kids open up, and that's 9th graders through 12th graders. They're all mixed with each other, and our seniors do a good job taking those young guys under their wing and making them feel comfortable kind of all under one umbrella. And it's a really unique thing. It's been exciting. So that part of it, I think, for our coaching staff is just as exciting as winning a Bishop's Cup, or probably more so, because you see some of these kids and how they develop through the course of their 4 years, and then they're ready. You know, they're prepared when they leave our school, if they're going to college, and then to see them come back and how over-prepared they are, it's a unique thing. It's really super, for sure.
Now, I'm going to take you off the football just for a moment here. You
Yeah.
spent some time with the Titans. You know Jim Wyatt.
Sure.
Jim is a Father Ryan alum.
Yeah.
Had a conversation with Jim this week. Sunday at the stadium. He was upset that his alma mater lost it to you
Right.
guys. Have you had any contact with him over the years as the head coach because of that? And obviously knowing him,
you know, there's so many. I mean, Father Ryan's got, you know, obviously their alumni base in Nashville is huge. Just being around for as long as I have, so there's a lot of guys that I've gotten to know. One of our coaches on staff is a Father Ryan alum, actually. So, you know,
Coach at the end,
there you go. So they're you know, they're scattered about, and they're short. You know, it's fun. It's all in good fun, and when we come together, we actually had passed in service this past Monday, so the two schools came together. And obviously, it's always nice when you're on the winning end to go into those in service. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, our mission as Catholic schools are the same. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do, is instill a great Catholic education in those men and young men and women. So. But yeah, I mean, no, I haven't had any specific conversations with him about it, but no, it's all good fun.
Well, if you bump into him, I'm sure you guys will have that conversation.
Sure.
But he obviously knows it's a football game and it's about
Right.
you know, the kids and stuff.
Yep.
But you know, as a proud alum that he is, and a Vanderbilt fan that he is,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
watching you play during your days at Vanderbilt, he was Father Ryan, kind of bummed that they lost, but you know,
Sure.
life goes on. But Coach, thanks so much for
Appreciate you
being
guys.
with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We love
All right.
having you here. We're
Yes,
glad
sir.
that you're with us again this week. Be back next week, hopefully.
Yes,
Get
sir.
you a steak.
Yeah, go get you some food.
I don't know. What is it you get here?
You know, I've gotten a steak. I think a couple weeks ago. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Oh,
This
yeah.
is
the
my
food.
family and I come here all the time. It's a good spot.
Oh, well,
Well,
perfect.
well, go get you some food
All right.
and get you a meal tonight on us here, and we'll
Thank you so
see you
much.
next week. Talk a little bit more football. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a win next week when they return from this road trip. Let's get Coach Stephen Clemens over here, one of the co-defensive coordinators from Gallatin High School. It'll be the first time we've talked to him. He was gracious enough to join us here tonight to spend a little time with us and talk a little football. First off, Stephen, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate you coming in. Take us through just a little bit for those Gallatin fans and anybody else around that might not know your background, kind of how your coaching career has evolved to this point and how you wound up at Gallatin.
Well, when I got out of college, I was lucky enough for Coach Jimmy Maynard to hire me at Smith County, where I grew up, played ball there, and was there for 7 years. And 7 years I was defense coordinator there. I was offense coordinator there. I wore a bunch of hats there, and this past spring I was ready to make a change and talked to Coach Watson, and was lucky enough to have him hire me on.
I know the name. I've never met him, but Coach Jimmy Maynard is a well-known name in coaching and high school football ranks in Middle Tennessee. So you learned under a guy that won some football games, and I probably saw you guys play at that time, just didn't have any idea that you were the one doing the defensive coordinator. So we welcome you here to Gallatin, obviously off to a 4-0 start. That's never a bad thing. Defensively, last week, and we'll start there, obviously through the season you've done really well as well, pitching a shutout, 2 7-point performances. You've given up 28 points in 4 games, so an average of 7 a game. But Mount Juliet specifically, with the talent that they have and the speed and the guys that they had, to be able to come out and what you guys did to them last week, holding them to 5 first downs, 88 total yards in the game, not just in a quarter or a half, in a ball game, that's pretty impressive on any level.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a testament to our kids. You know, I couldn't be prouder of how they came out and performed. And like we said earlier, we had Michael Brinkley go out in the first quarter. You know, I was pretty nervous. We was already down BB, and then we had those 2 kids step up and play really well. I mean, I've never been around a bunch of kids who love to compete, want to be physical. You know, all the things that you want as a defensive coordinator. It makes our job so much easier. You know, and I just can't say enough about it.
Now, you mentioned BB William Goodnight, for those that might not know, and then you lost Michael Brinkley. To have 2 300-pound kids on your defensive line, a lot of places might have 1, might have 2, but they don't have the luxury of losing 2 and bringing 2 more of them in to replace them. You guys didn't lose anything size-wise, maybe strength, maybe experience. Obviously, there's a reason why 2 are on the first team and 2 are backups. But those guys came in, and you really didn't notice any kind of drop-off from a viewer's perspective of what they were doing. They were able to hold up to that big offensive line from Mount Juliet and do their jobs.
Yeah, you know, you talk about size. We still have Zion Robb, who is a monster of a
Yeah,
kid
he's a big
in
dude.
there. And he's got the best feet of any big kid that I've ever been around. He's so quick and he moves so well to be as big as he is. And yes, Rayvon and Kemp, they are neither one small. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well they played. You know, they probably have had 7 reps combined in actual game time experience for us. And to come in and play that whole entire, 3 quarters was just amazing.
Now, just kind of thinking down the road and thinking about this, you get everybody back and healthy, you ever get in a goal line situation, you got 5 of those big monsters you could put up there on the line to stop a 4th down and a yard kind of play. That might be an interesting thought for you and Coach Broderick to have in the back of your head somewhere if it ever comes about.
Yeah, we have it in. We just have. I think we've used it one time, maybe against Lebanon on
Okay.
a 4th down stop, but we do have it. Just haven't been on the goal line yet, luckily. So just keep. We got it ready.
Coach Watson was talking about James Mason. Pretty special what that kid's doing athletically and as a player and everything right now. He's obviously the bell cow of a really good defense. Tell us kind of about him and your thoughts on him and how he's performed to this point.
He's the most special kid I've ever coached on defense. I mean, he is running through the hole. I mean, if you blink, you'll not block him, and he'll be tackling you in the backfield. You know, we try defensive line-wise with those big guys. I don't care if they make a tackle, just eat up blocks and let Mason and Morgan be free hitters, but it works. I mean, Mason is running around like he said. You know, Coach Watson, him running down the kid from he's going to Duke was impressive to me. He broke up 3 passes, tackles for loss. I mean, he loves to blitz. You can see him if you'll watch him. He's over begging Coach Broderick to blitz him. We have to tell him calm down. Let us call it, but he wants to go.
And the running back from Mount Juliet, and I don't remember the number, they had 2 or 3 that they used during the course of the game, but the one he hit in the backfield, I'm shocked that young gentleman. I'm glad he got up, but I'm shocked he got up because that was one of the hardest hits, and he's had some hard shots this year, but he absolutely, and clean as it could be, but he absolutely unloaded on that ball carrier in the backfield. I think you remember the play I'm talking about. It was to the the field house end.
Oh, okay.
They were backed up to the field house going towards the scoreboard, so it would have been from your left to right. I was on the opposite side, so I'm having to figure out where I was, but he just came clean, and I mean, it was just a dead in his tracks. He went straight to the ground, and the crowd was like, one of those hits on both sides.
I mean, he lives in the backfield. He likes to get back there, and when he does, he makes things happen for us. So we're probably going to keep sending him. So
I would think that's probably a pretty good thing to do. I've got a message here. Tell him what for Clemens from Randall. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that's the text message on Facebook from Coach Randall Silcox texting in. Tell him what for Clemens. Is there anything you can share about that?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so that's not like Atkins and the juice thing, right? That's not something. Okay.
This juice. Another week we talk about this juice.
And I still don't know what it is because he tells me every week he's bringing it and he never brings it. But anyway, moving on to Hillwood coming up on Friday night, homecoming, all that. What have you seen from Hillwood offensively, and what are you kind of, Coach Broderick, thinking about what you're going to have to do versus this bunch who's going to come in and probably spread it out and throw it around?
As a D-line coach, that's the kind of game that I love. And tell my D-linemen to pin their ears back and go get after the quarterback. They're gonna spread it around. They're gonna chunk it and throw it. They got a couple run plays, but they like to throw it. And we're gonna blitz and we're gonna get after them like we do. I mean, we're gonna keep doing what we do.
I mentioned A.J. Branham to Coach Watson. He is, quote, a defensive lineman in your system, but he had a big game, and when you say tell them to pin their ears back and get after it, I got a feeling that's going to light his eyes up.
When I told him on Tuesday, him and Trustin both, that they couldn't be happier. That's what they want to hear. They don't like it when I slow them down and make them play the run. They want to get up the field.
So, with a team like this, will there be any significant changes? Will we see a lot of nickel or maybe dime or something of that nature? Or are you going to try to start out and just play the base package and see how it goes? And without giving away game plans here, obviously.
Yeah, we're going to play some sub packages. We stayed in a more heavier package last week against Mount Juliet with the tight end, the 2 backs, and they're going to be mainly 1 back. So yeah, we'll be in nickel and dime, that kind of stuff too.
Homecoming week. First year for you at Gallatin, what's it kind of been like, all of the crazy activities and the kids dressing up? Have you dressed up as anything other than football coach?
No, sir. I have not. I can't say enough about Gallatin. I'm so fortunate to be here. Like, the school spirit that they have, I've never experienced anywhere else. They love football here. I mean, their signs on Town Square, the pep rallies are insane. I mean, I can't wait to see how this Thursday and Friday is going to shake out. But everybody's dressed up at school.
Well, I can say this, having been around Gallatin for 30-plus years and been around Gallatin football for 28 seasons now of this, you guys have lit a fire under this community again with what you've done as a staff and as a team and being 4-0 and the prospects. And obviously the fans are way out in front of this, because I had somebody tell me the other day, hey, this team can be undefeated, can be 10-0 going to the playoffs. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not, but you've got obviously some tough games left to play before you can get there. But you've got fans excited and thinking about the possibilities of what can be for this group. And that's a good thing for everybody involved, for the community, for obviously for the school, the players, and you guys as coaches. So congratulations on what you've been able to do as part of the staff here with Coach Watson and everybody else in what you've turned around in a short period of time, really.
I appreciate it. He won't admit it, but Coach Watson has done a great job of coming in and changing the culture and, getting them to buy into grit and, all the things that he does. I've never had a coach that I've worked for that has done all this stuff that he does, I want to be a head coach one day, and, I never thought about all the stuff that he does, the social media, he's just changed it all, and it's a testament to him and his work ethic.
Randall Silcox says you dressed up like your mentor, Coach Silcox.
Right.
I'm not going to comment on that one. Randall, I'll call you later. I've even lost my train of thought where I was going to go. Well, now, you can't leave to be a head coach just yet. You got to stick around a few more years before we're ready to let you get out of here in due time. And then I'm joking about that. I wish you all the best, obviously, with that. But love what you guys have done so far, and I'm sure there's more of that to come. Coach Stephen Clemens, thanks for taking the time. I'll let you go finish your steak. I know it's getting cold over there. And Zach and I will kind of wrap things up through
Yeah, we should be
here
having
tonight.
somebody possibly coming from Demas, is correct? I believe they might be coming in to talk to us because, once again, our host and our sponsor for this program is Demas is here in Hendersonville, 221 Indian Lake Boulevard. I believe that's the exact address.
Well, if you screwed it up, it's on you, because
It's
I don't know.
definitely in Hendersonville, though.
It's in Hendersonville, it's on Indian Lake. Hey, it's been here for a long time. This is not a new place. We're not breaking in a new establishment here that people don't know about and people haven't been to already. We just want you to come out and join us here, have a good time, eat some good food, talk some high school football, listen to us make fools of ourselves, that kind of thing here tonight. I mentioned earlier the schedule for Sumner County. Let's go through this again while we're waiting. Station camp's on the road at Rossview. They'll go to Clarksville tomorrow night. That's an easy, pretty good trip. It's not a long trip, but it's a trip.
How do you think that one ends out?
I gotta take Rossview. I don't know a lot about Rossview either, to be honest with you. I think they're a 6A school, if memory serves. And
So maybe it's because you know more about Station Camp. You'll take Ross
yeah,
and do what that
Station
says.
Camp is struggling, and let's be honest with that. They're struggling. They're winless on the season. They've had some tough, disappointing, big losses, and so just based on that, obviously I'm going to go with Rossview in that one. But Springfield comes to White House. That'll be a big ball game because both of them need a win. It's a region game. Hendersonville goes to Lebanon. Hillwood comes to Gallatin. Beach is at Hunters Lane. Trousdale County comes to Westmoreland. Come on in, have a seat here. Pope John on the road to Christian Brothers. We talked to Coach Geisinger a minute ago, and then Portland at West Creek. Let's get you to put the headset on there.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for hosting us here.
You're welcome.
tonight.
So for all our viewers, let's just name and what is your exact occupation here at Demas's?
Okay. My name is Aaliyah Wheeler. I'm a manager here at Demas's. I'm also the PR manager, so I handle all the local catering events. We do food donations, things like that.
Professional. She talk to the people.
Exactly.
Now, you can talk to us.
You've
though.
done this
Okay.
before, right?
Okay.
You've not. Well, hey, she's going to have our job because she comes in, puts on the headset, goes right at it, never stuttered, never flinched, and just looked at the camera and went for it. So thank you for that. You did a great job with that, and you've done a great job with hosting us here at Demas's throughout the, now I guess, 3 weeks? 4 weeks. This is the 4 weeks we've been here,
It's the
yes.
fourth week. So tell us about all the changes. I mean, we got the biggest one, I think. Well, they're all big, but one of the biggest ones is the new logo. What is the meaning behind the new logo, the new color scheme, all that?
So our new logo is actually an old logo that we're just bringing back. We changed back to the green logo just to show that we are going fresh. Everything is made here fresh. Nothing comes frozen on the truck that we just throw on the grill. Everything's fresh. Everything's, skin cut, everything like that in the mornings.
See, that's big, because one, this is a large family-owned restaurant, but it's still around all through Nashville as a whole. But here in Hendersonville specifically, Hendersonville's biggest problem is they have kind of what you're talking about, the opposite of that. Restaurants that are processing plants almost. They just get the Ziploc dried, freeze cooked already and everything, and that's different. So
Throw it
here-
on the grill or the microwave.
Or you
Yeah.
throw it out and warm it up, and now it's, come to Demos's, you're looking at just that, fresh, and so the logo is now fresh, but it's old. It's an old logo, but it's fresh. You gotta love it.
Right.
So then also happy hour.
Mhm.
What's going on with happy hour?
So every day it's a different type of drink. Like one day it is half price bottle of beer, buy one get one free. Tonight is buy one get one free bottle of wine.
Wow.
We have half price Bloody Marys and mimosas on Saturdays and Sundays.
Ooh.
So every day it's something different.
Oh, okay, good. Well, so it's a
You live
variety.
close.
I live
You'll
way
get in
too
trouble.
close.
Yeah, exactly. I know how that's gonna
Maggie
go.
would,
Hi, Maggie. By the way, I know she's listening.
Yeah,
to
she's
this all
somewhere in
the
here
time.
already planning the trip. But so what else do we have going on with Demos's at the moment? A brand new menu, correct?
Yes, brand new menu. It is a lot smaller font, so kind of hard to read, but it is. We're going for the more modern
Right.
modern look.
That's why us old blind people, if we don't have our glasses, we turn our flashlights on our phone to read the menu. I sit around doing that, people looking at me like, what are you? I'm blind when it's small without my glasses.
We
so
even
that's what I
talked
have
about
to do.
getting magnifying glasses for some elderly.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So we'll go above and beyond for that.
I'm not wearing the bifocals or the magnifiers yet, though, so we'll stick
Get
with
there.
the flashlight
Get
for
there.
now. Yeah.
So also on the menu, some old favorites came back, correct? I remember we
Yes,
talked about that
um,
briefly.
Yeah, an appetizer shrimp cocktail is back. It's 6 pieces of shrimp on a bed of lettuce with cocktail sauce. And then we have a new salmon imperial that is just a piece of salmon with Alfredo sauce, and it's got the blackened seasoning on top. Yeah,
Gotta
very
like
good.
that. Yeah, there it is. He's
It's
already
got,
gonna be ordering
it's
that.
also got crab meat and shrimp on top of it.
Now,
I may have to get a to-go order
good.
of that. Yeah, I may have to take one of those home or two of
It's
those home
good.
tonight.
you being the inside person we have here for Demos's, the biggest thing that I always hear from people outside of this, Demos's. Now, you told me one time in a really perfect way why it's one way, and I want to settle that for the record which one it is.
All right, so we tell customers who ask, and we say, it doesn't matter how you say it as long as you come in and eat with us.
There you go.
But managers say it was Demos before because that's his last name, but now the apostrophe shows ownership of the building, so it is now Demos's.
There it is.
But
the
again,
ownership.
as long as you come in and eat, we don't care what you call it.
And folks, the chicken salad sandwich, I had that last week.
Good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Best chicken salad sandwich I don't know, maybe ever, but it certainly ranks up there right with it if it wasn't the best, because I'm old and I've had a lot of chicken salad in my days. So but yeah, it was really
Now,
good.
how'd you get your start here at Demos's?
I actually wasn't even looking for employment. A recruiter found me, and
Wow.
yeah, it seemed like
You were
a great
headhunted.
opportunity. Yeah, it seemed like a great opportunity, and I took it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. We're glad you are here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for hosting us in the show every week. You do an awesome job. The food is amazing. We love coming here. Wish we could do a 4-hour show.
I know.
They were like, no way, an hour, you guys is
Y'all
enough.
don't bother me.
Well, thanks for coming on with us,
You're
Leah.
welcome.
This wasn't that bad. We had to kind of pull a couple of y'all in here to get in front of the camera and go.
Oh, hey, she's a pro. I'm
Oh,
telling
she's
you,
great.
now,
She's
Tony's
great.
hearing this, he'll fire both of us and have her in the
Exactly.
morning.
Exactly. Aaliyah, thank you so much for
You're
being here with
welcome.
Thank
us.
you very much.
Awesome.
Well-
There it is, Leah Wheeler with Demos's, and now you got to hear the inside source about all the great things that are going on here
Absolutely.
at Demos's. Don't say Demos. Anyone saying Demos, you're
Well,
uneducated.
The first time that I ever went to the restaurant, there wasn't one in Hendersonville, there wasn't one in Lebanon. I went to one downtown on Commerce, and it was Demos, just like she said, because
Wow.
it was the one place, and it was the gentleman's last name, and so it's kind of evolved, like the restaurant itself, growing from the one location in downtown Nashville to Murfreesboro, Hendersonville, Lebanon. If they've got another one, I don't remember right off the top of my head.
I think we have plenty of them.
But,
There's a ton
but
around.
they've grown, and so it has evolved into the new name that we have here today. But Zach, it's another week in the books as far as us here from the Coaches Show. Another week coming up Friday night, some big games. If you are interested in going to a game, obviously there are games around Sumner County this week. that you can get out and attend. Westmoreland's at home, Gallatin's at home, White House is at home. Everybody else is on the road this week, but if you're willing to make a road trip, follow your favorite team. Best of luck to everybody. Safe travels throughout the week, and good luck to all Sumner County teams coming up this week because, hey, nobody's playing anybody else this week, so we can root for all the Sumner County teams. We have to be impartial when Station Camp and Beach play. This week, we're for all the Sumner County teams to get a victory since we're all out of county against other opponents. Thank you for being with us. We've enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week here on the Sumner County Coaches Show, live from Demas's in Hendersonville. Zach Williams, Greg Arias. Good night, everybody.